Oh, we lounging. We are lounging. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gamey things. I am coming to you today from a new set. This is going to be our sitting set. Now I do know that, first of all, this room's not done, so all the stuff isn't in it yet, and that the lighting isn't quite right yet. So I'm gonna have to play around with that. So it's not gonna be perfect, but I did want to test it out, and I thought, what better video than this one? Because this is a very important video. Today's video is actually all about board games as people. So like if a board game were a person, what kind of person would they be? You know, who are they? And this is really just to help you get to know your board games better so you know how to talk to them, how to treat them. So without further ado, let's get into this very serious and very important video. The first game on today's list is going to be none other than Flamecraft. Now, Flamecraft, as a human, just let me describe them and you'll know what I mean. They are that eccentric artisan friend who handcrafts candles. They talk to their sourdough starter every morning. They have a pet gecko named Sir Sizzlepaws, and they always smell like cinnamon, and they insist on shopping at the farmer's market. That is Flamecraft, okay? They're your eccentric artisan friend, and you should take them to the farmer's market with you. They'll really like that. Okay, so you should try to do that. Next up, we have Fromage. Now, Fromage is that fancy foodie friend who brings a curated cheese board to literally every gathering, and they judge you for mispronouncing Camembert. I'm gonna put it on the screen. They're judging me for mispronouncing it. I've never seen this word before, to be honest with you. They know the perfect wine pairing for every meal, and they probably have a framed photo of Paris in their kitchen. And if it's not a framed photo, then it's some sort of painting of Paris, or you know that like Eiffel Tower with the red umbrella? Yeah, that's them. Next up, we have Patchwork, your grandma core bestie who knits in public. They have a basket of perfectly folded quilts at home, and quilts are expensive, but they know where to spend their money. They sip on chamomile tea, they wear flowy skirts, and they definitely have a pet cat named Button. Next up, we have none other than Too Many Bones. Now, this is that hardcore D&D player who has an entire shelf dedicated to dice, and they can rattle off obscure fantasy lore at a moment's notice. They once built a character with 5 backup plans in case of death. You know who I'm talking about. Then we have Harvest. Now, Harvest is your friend who grew up on a farm, and they can casually throw around phrases like, the alfalfa's looking good this year, or it's a little bit too dry for potatoes. I'm clearly not like Harvest. They're always up early, like at dawn with the roosters. They wear overalls, unironically, and they know how to fix a tractor. It's a handy friend to have, honestly. Okay, next up we have Can't Stop. This is that reckless gambler who always says just one more round, then they proceed to lose everything. They have zero chill, they love high stakes decisions, and absolutely cheers the loudest at sports events. Specifically like horse racing, etc. Those are the sports events that apparently I know about. Next up, we have Sausage Sizzle, and this is that backyard barbecue king or queen who insists on grilling in any weather. Pouring down rain, grilling. Snow, grilling. Sunshine, grilling. Hail, grilling. They don't care. They wear an apron that says Grill Master, and they own a comically large set of tongs and always brings up that one time that they smoked a brisket for 14 hours. Now, my friends, we have Things and Rings. And Things and Rings is the friend who hyper-fixates on random hobbies. 1 month it might be juggling. The next month it's competitive hula hooping. They own multiple sets of those like weird resistant band things, but they've never ever used them. They also are obsessed with riddles and trying to get you to guess what number they're thinking, which is honestly an activity I have never been good at. Probably because I always pick the same number. Quick, what number am I thinking? It was 18. You're right. Then we have Thunder Road Vendetta, which, my friends, you can play in a cool Daniel 45. Thunder Road Vendetta is that adrenaline junkie in your life who watches Mad Max way too much. Like, way too much. They're always speeding and constantly saying, I could totally make that jump. And they have very strong opinions about classic muscle cars, of which I have no opinions of. None. Not even one. Next we have Obsession. This is that one friend who is super into the Regency era dramas, and they definitely went through a Jane Austen phase. They might even be going through it right now. They own fancy teacups and unironically use words like courting, and they would love to be on an episode of Bridgerton. Then we have Grand Austria Hotel, and this is a dumb baby. Next up, we have Acquire. Now, Acquire is that ruthless business mogul in your friend group who always talks about diversifying assets, which is not fun conversation for me because honestly, I don't even know what an asset is. Is that like just money you have? I don't know. They love Monopoly. They play it competitively, too competitively, and they once brought you way too much crypto and somehow still came out on top. I also don't know what crypto is, so. Ooh, all right, now we have Awkward Guess. Now, Awkward Guess is the friend who thrives on murder mystery. There have been a lot of murders in Savannah, but they thrive on murder mystery parties and can always guess the killer in a movie within 20 minutes. It's really annoying because they don't keep it to themselves. They own a magnifying glass for aesthetic purposes, and unironically, they love Clue. Next up, Calico. Now, Calico is the introvert who just wants to curl up with a blanket, a good book, and their sleeping cat. They have an adorable tea collection, and somehow they find joy in untangling yarn. Also really handy around the holidays when you have to untangle the lights because they see that and they're like, oh, this is just like the yarn that I untangle. They're so sweet. We love them. Then we have Fiction. Now, Fiction is the friend who corrects your grammar constantly, and they love debating book to movie adaptations, which, by the way, they always say the book was better than the movie. And they're right. But like, that's just a known thing. You don't need to say that. They probably own a typewriter and they have a half-finished novel on their laptop that they're writing. Then we have Fit to Print. Now, Fit to Print is that journalist friend who speed reads everything. Like, you don't know how it's physically possible that they can read that quickly. And they're always in the know. How do they know everything? They know all the hot goss. They can craft the perfect headline for literally any situation, and they get irrationally excited about office supplies. I'm not gonna lie, I also love office supplies. Like stationery, girl. Then, of course, we have Parks, and I'm sure you know exactly where this one is going, but Parks is that friend who is always going on a hike, and they act personally offended if you don't want to join, even though you live in Canada, and it gets very cold, and you're not built for the cold weather. Who goes hiking in the winter? Parks does. They own way too many reusable water bottles and definitely has a national parks passport. Now we have Mythic Mischief. This is the prankster who loves setting up elaborate jokes, but somehow never gets caught. Riddle me that one. They quote Loki way too much, and they once convinced someone that they were in an actual escape room. when they weren't. Ah, yes. Wingspan. The nature-obsessed friend who carries a bird-watching journal everywhere, and they get way too excited about spotting a finch. We have finches in our backyard all the time. I spot them all the time. They're very pretty. They do drink artisanal tea and insist that you try their homemade kombucha. Root. Now, Root is the chaotic, neutral cousin who's always starting drama in the family group chat, but somehow everyone still invites them to everything. They also feed the neighborhood raccoons. Then we have Cascadia, a soft-spoken, ultra-chill friend who wears sustainable clothing and goes camping to disconnect, but they still post about it on Instagram. It's not really disconnecting, but it's fine. Also, they own an emotional support water bottle, Gloomhaven. All right, let's talk about Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is the gym bro who calls their workout a quest, and they refer to their meal prep as rations, and they only drink protein shakes, and they have an unnecessarily expensive backpack. Cartographers. Cartographers is your artsy friend who insists that they can't draw, but then doodles something insanely good in the margins of their notebook. They probably own about 17 different types of markers. Blood on the clock tower. Max. Blood on the clock tower is the person at the party who never stops stirring the pot. They literally gaslight everyone for fun. They say, "Trust me," way too often, and they also love movies with subtitles and sinister plots. Then we have Azul. Now, Azul is that stylish, put-together friend who always has perfectly manicured nails and an aesthetically pleasing Instagram feed. Everything matches. I don't know how people do that. It's very inspiring. You don't know what they do for work, but they always seem to be on vacation, often in Portugal. Ah, yes. Terraforming Mars. The nerdy friend who talks about space travel way too much. They always correct sci-fi movies for being scientifically inaccurate, and they own a telescope and they know all the best places to use it. Arc Nova is the wildlife conservationist friend who has a very strong opinion about zoos and probably has a favorite exotic animal. And by the way, it's an okapi. They volunteer on the weekends, they own way too many National Geographic magazines, and absolutely cries when watching nature documentaries. But honestly, if you don't, what are you doing? It's so sad. They're so sad because the animals just, they live their life and they die, and that's really sad. Dice Throne. Dice Throne is that loud, charismatic friend who thrives on a high-energy game night, and they always go for the riskiest plays. They speak exclusively in catchphrases, and they roll dice very dramatically, like, kind of like that. And they will absolutely trash talk you mid-game, beginning of the game, end of game. It gets worse the better they're doing. Flip 7. Flip 7 is that math nerd friend who can do lightning fast calculations in their head, but yet somehow still struggle to tip at restaurants. They always, and I mean always, have a deck of cards in their pocket, and they love a quick, clever game that makes you feel dumb. Don't we all? Okay, final girl is that one horror-obsessed friend who always insists on watching scary movies, but also screams the loudest, and often you will find them hiding underneath the blanket. They believe, truly believe, that they would survive in a slasher film, but you know that they would probably trip on the first step and be the first to go. Oh, Marvel Champions. This one speaks to me right now because I just started my annual Marvel rewatch. It's probably gonna take me like 6 months. Marvel Champions is that superhero-obsessed friend who definitely has a ranking of all of the MCU movies and won't stop talking about it. They own way too many graphic tees, they get way into debates about power scaling, and somehow they always pick Spider-Man in games. This one might be me. And last but not least, we have Harmonies, the ultimate cottagecore friend who always has fresh baked bread in their kitchen. We love them. They play the harp, or at least they want to, and they think the perfect day involves frolicking. They also probably own multiple houseplants, and they have named all of them. All right, friends, I am curious to know, what did you think about my assessments of these board games as people? I am very curious because I think personally I nailed it. If you are interested in learning about more board games as people, please let me know in the comments. If you have any that you think that you could identify, I would love to know, because I think we need to do more work to uncover the personalities underneath the cardboard so we can get to know our games better. Let me know what you think about the set also. Once again, I know the lighting is probably a little bit janky, and the games we just kind of threw haphazardly upon the shelves. That's everything that I have for you today. Now, if you're interested in buying board games or making friends with any of the games that I talked about today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that's the Boardroom Game Cafe. I would love to know also in the comments, of all of the games I talked about with the type of people, which one are you? If you had to match yourself up with one of those board games as the type of person you are, I would love to know which one you are. We can carry that conversation in the Discord. If you're not in our Discord, you definitely should be. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. And now I say goodbye. Goodbye. You're a rickety old table, but I love you anyway. That's fine. Also, look at my little glowy mushroom. Can you see him? He's very cute. Hold, please. Careful, table. Careful. Did you hear that? It was like, meow, like that little animal.